I watched the iced coffee drip slowly from the collar of my bespoke charcoal suit. The dark liquid pooled on the pristine marble floor of my busy corporate lobby. My mother stood exactly 2 feet away holding the empty plastic cup. Her face was twisted into a cruel and highly calculated smile. She loudly declared that I was still the same pathetic and helpless teenager she abandoned in Nevada. It was exactly 8:14 a.m. on a freezing Tuesday in downtown Denver. I looked at the ice cubes on the floor and then back at the woman who birthed me. My name is Julian Mercer. I am 31 years old. I am a lead penetration tester and zero trust network architect. My daily profession requires me to systematically break into heavily fortified digital environments. I expose critical vulnerabilities before malicious actors can safely exploit them. I deal entirely in risk mitigation and absolute access control. My mother is named Evelyn. She is 52 and proudly identifies as a lifestyle influencer and independent talent manager. She generates minimal legitimate revenue while actively consuming massive amounts of expensive luxury resources. The confrontation materialized because I firmly refused to authorize a $12,500 wire transfer. She demanded the capital to fund a spontaneous 2-week excursion to a luxury resort in Aspen. When I denied the digital request, she immediately drove to my office to execute a public physical ambush. She threw her expensive beverage at me to assert her immediate dominance. She loudly reminded the silent lobby that she once left me stranded at a gas station in Reno. I was exactly 16 years old at the time. She called it a necessary survival challenge to forge my character and build my personal resilience. I felt absolutely no anger or embarrassment in the moment. I only experienced a cold and highly analytical clarity. She actually believed her historical abuse granted her permanent, unlimited access to my secure financial infrastructure. Where were you at 8:14 a.m. on a freezing Tuesday morning? I was standing in a corporate lobby, calculating the exact mathematical cost of my immediate retaliation. She was violently demanding my money while standing inside a security perimeter I personally designed from scratch. She completely failed to realize I already held the master encryption keys to her entire fabricated digital life. I calmly wiped the coffee from my suit lapel without speaking a single word. Evelyn has not earned a legitimate paycheck since 2018. She prefers the title of independent talent manager to mask her profound lack of marketable skills. In reality, she survives entirely on a highly structured digital allowance that I reluctantly engineered. I set up an automated clearinghouse protocol to transfer exactly $4,150, $75 on the first of every month. It covers the exorbitant lease on her luxury, high-rise condominium in downtown Denver. She contributes absolutely nothing to society except a continuous stream of highly curated vanity content. She is a master of retrospective gaslighting. She relies on historical revisionism to extract resources from my carefully guarded accounts. She views my highly specialized technical career as a direct result of her brilliant parenting. She genuinely believes stranding a 16-year-old boy in Reno built my resilience. I was left at a desolate gas station with exactly $14, $50 in my pocket. I had to hitchhike 400 miles back to Colorado in the freezing cold. She told me it was a necessary character-building challenge. I realized it was simply a chaotic abandonment by a deeply selfish woman. That specific trauma became the absolute foundation of my professional expertise. I build zero-trust network architectures because I learned early that nobody is inherently reliable. A zero-trust system assumes every single user is a potential threat until mathematically proven otherwise. She currently treats my secure digital infrastructure like her own personal playground. I host her 3 distinct lifestyle blogs on my private enterprise-grade servers. I manage the complex load balancing required to handle her high-resolution video streams. I pay the $385, $20 monthly bandwidth overage charges without a single complaint. Last month, she claimed her primary social media account was maliciously hacked. She demanded an emergency transfer of $2,500. To hire a localized brand consultant, I deployed a sophisticated network packet analyzer to audit her active session tokens. I found no evidence of external intrusion. I only found a matching receipt for a designer handbag purchased from a boutique in Milan. I presented her with the raw encrypted log files. I showed her the exact timestamps proving she staged the entire digital crisis. She accused me of being a deeply ungrateful and completely robotic son. She claimed my cold logic was destroying her fragile creative spirit. She completely ignored the mathematical truth of her own financial parasitism. I realized she was incurably toxic. I returned to my quiet corner office and meticulously wiped the remaining coffee from my expensive lapel. My workstation consisted of 3 high-resolution curved monitors displaying active network topologies. Evelyn never understood the massive digital machinery keeping her shallow influencer lifestyle operational. She foolishly assumed her high-definition vanity videos reached her loyal followers through pure internet magic. She did not know I built a custom content delivery network to host her media. A delivery network simply stores heavy files on multiple global servers, so videos load instantly. I subsidized the $1,245, $80 monthly bandwidth costs directly from my secondary corporate account. Her entire digital brand was deeply reliant on my invisible and uncompensated labor. She was completely ignorant of the complex security protocols protecting her highly curated life. Her various social media accounts were heavily targeted by automated credential stuffing bots every day. These malicious programs constantly tried to guess her terrible passwords to steal her audience. I implemented a multi-factor authentication gateway using a proprietary algorithmic token generator. I personally deflected an average of 412 unauthorized login attempts every single week. I did this quietly in the background while she complained about my lack of emotional warmth. The most critical piece of leverage was her primary domain name registry. Evelyn registered her lifestyle blog 15 years ago using my email address because she was technically illiterate. I legally owned the master administrative rights to her entire digital identity. I held the absolute root access keys securely inside a deeply encrypted local hardware wallet. She threw her iced coffee at me to loudly assert her supposed physical dominance in the real world. She did not realize I could instantly strand her in a vast digital desert with a single keystroke. I sat down and stared at the glowing master control panel on my central monitor. My identity and access management dashboard clearly listed every single device she currently owned. I could see her premium smartphone pinging my secure server for a routine data handshake. A handshake is just 2 computers verifying they are allowed to talk to each other. I spent exactly 15 years building an impenetrable fortress around my life to ensure I was never stranded again. Evelyn foolishly walked right into the very center of that fortress and actively declared war. My quiet digital arsenal was now fully loaded and perfectly calibrated for her immediate eviction. I initiated the Zero Trust Severance Protocol at exactly 9, 7:00 a.m. from my polished desk. The sticky coffee stain on my lapel was already drying into a stiff and permanent mark. I opened my centralized financial portal and located the recurring transfer directory. The $4,150, $75 automated clearing house profile for her luxury condominium lease was active. I clicked the red termination module and permanently deleted the scheduled payment. I felt absolutely no hesitation as the digital confirmation dialog appeared on my monitor. The primary financial artery was officially severed forever. I watched my projected monthly liquidity increase by the exact amount of her unearned entitlement. Next, I targeted the fundamental core of her fabricated influencer lifestyle. I logged into my encrypted domain name registry and located her primary web address. I highlighted the active routing tables directing internet traffic to her vanity blog. I deleted the records completely without generating a single backup snapshot. I then terminated the primary virtual server hosting her extensive catalogue of high-definition videos. Her entire digital brand evaporated into the cold ether instantly. Anyone attempting to visit her lifestyle website would now encounter a fatal 404 error code. Her illusion of social relevance was mathematically dismantled with a few precise keystrokes. The massive $1,245, $80 monthly bandwidth subsidy was finally over for good. The social media infrastructure required a much more methodical and punishing touch. I accessed the master configuration file for her multi-factor authentication gateway. I permanently blacklisted the specific hardware media access control address for her premium smartphone. I revoked all administrative permissions for her 3 distinct social media accounts. I changed the master security passwords to a randomly generated 40-character cryptographic string. I locked the new encryption keys inside a secure offline password vault on my local machine. I then executed a remote session termination protocol across all her active devices. She was instantly logged out of every single platform she used to harvest daily attention. I systematically removed my primary corporate credit card from her localized utility payment portals. I deleted the $314, $50 monthly electric bill profile and her $125, $0 premium water delivery mandate. I removed my name as the authorized technical contact for her high-speed fiber internet service. I spent exactly 42 minutes meticulously unwinding 15 long years of invisible administrative labor. I did not leave a single trace of my digital presence behind to support her. I closed my administrative dashboard when the final confirmation notification arrived in my secure inbox. Her digital ecosystem was now entirely disconnected from my massive life support systems. She was utterly and completely stranded in an environment she could not comprehend. The quiet severance was executed flawlessly from the pristine silence of my secure corner office. She abandoned me at a dusty gas station in Reno with nothing but the clothes on my back. I was now deliberately abandoning her in a vast and completely empty digital wasteland. She possessed absolutely no technical survival skills to navigate this isolation. She was now completely alone. The initial indication of her digital asphyxiation registered on my secondary monitor at exactly 10:42 a.m. Evelyn attempted to publish a fabricated apology video regarding her morning outburst to her primary social feed. The application programming interface rejected her unauthorized session token with a standard HTTP 401 unauthorized error code. She tried to bypass the security protocol by requesting a localized password reset link to her email. I previously severed the mail exchange records linking her custom domain to the global internet architecture. Her frantic recovery requests vanished silently into an absolute void of unallocated IP addresses. 40 minutes later, the systemic financial failure officially reached her physical environment. She attempted to purchase a $14.50 matcha latte using her mobile wallet at a luxury cafe. The transaction declined instantly because her device could not authenticate with my primary banking servers. She immediately resorted to using an unencrypted public wireless network to send me an audio message. She used a secure encrypted messaging application I deliberately left active for evidence collection. Her voice was trembling with a highly manufactured frequency of pure maternal terror. She claimed she was experiencing a severe panic attack due to my sudden technical betrayal. The panic rapidly escalated into unfiltered rage throughout the early afternoon. Evelyn called my secure corporate reception desk 14 times between noon and 3 today. I instructed the automated private branch exchange system to route her specific caller ID directly to a dead extension. She left 7 increasingly unhinged voicemails demanding immediate digital compliance. She commanded me to restore her blog access because she was losing critical brand sponsorships. She ordered me to wire the $12,500 Aspen resort fee because she already promised her friends a luxurious vacation. She attempted to leverage her decaying authority as a mother to mask her absolute terror. She relied heavily on the proven mechanics of historical gaslighting to regain absolute control. Evelyn sent a massive wall of text detailing her supposed sacrifices during my troubled childhood. She claimed my sudden administrative abandonment was a direct symptom of my deep psychological damage. She demanded a minimum cash transfer of $2,000 to cover her immediate and undefined living expenses. She followed her emotional message with a blunt and poorly written legal ultimatum. She stated I would be publicly exposed to my corporate employers if the digital accounts were not restored by Friday. I found this specific threat to be mathematically and statistically absurd. My extensive review of her analytics dashboard showed her actual active engagement rate was a mere 0.4%. I sat in my ergonomic office chair and methodically monitored her frantic digital thrashing. She was like a deep-sea diver, suddenly disconnected from her localized oxygen tether. She could not survive the crushing pressure of reality without my artificial life support systems. I did not respond to a single message or return a single threatening phone call. I simply documented every threat and catalogued every single demand in a highly secure encrypted digital spreadsheet. I needed irrefutable proof to finalize the total structural collapse of her fabricated reality. I opened my encrypted local server and accessed her archived packet capture files. I meticulously maintained these network logs for the past 50 months to ensure continuous digital hygiene. I isolated the raw hexadecimal data payloads originating from Evelyn and her specific mobile device identifier. I ran a custom Python script to easily filter out standard web traffic and isolate her direct messaging protocols. I decrypted the specific communications using the compromised security certificates I previously installed on her hardware. The extracted data formed a mathematically perfect timeline of her extensive financial deception. I exported a structured query language database containing exactly 312 discrete interactions with various resort managers. The deep logs detailed her specific requests for complimentary luxury accommodations in exchange for guaranteed social media exposure. I matched the communication timestamps with the highly manipulated analytics data from her Vanity lifestyle blog. I found exactly 80 distinct instances where she actively purchased cheap automated bot traffic to artificially inflate her engagement metrics. She used a fraudulent digital footprint to aggressively solicit free goods from legitimate commercial businesses. My mother was actively committing extensive wire fraud across state lines for over 3 years. I accessed the master email archive I preserved from her deactivated custom domain. I searched the global inbox for keywords directly related to the $12,500 Aspen invoice. I discovered a hidden folder containing forwarded contracts from a disreputable secondary brand management agency. She never actually intended to pay the luxury resort a single legitimate dime. She planned to pocket my massive cash transfer and offer the hotel a completely worthless promotional exchange instead. She knowingly attempted to leverage my secure financial infrastructure to fund her continuous criminal grift. I compiled this massive cache of evidence into a secure and immutable blockchain ledger. I utilized a cryptographic hashing algorithm to generate a unique digital signature for every fraudulent receipt. This specific security protocol guaranteed the raw data could never be altered or dismissed as fake. I categorized the extensive wire fraud and the deliberate metric manipulation into a deeply detailed massive forensic dossier. I attached the decrypted hexadecimal data dumps as a supporting appendix for absolute clarity. The administrative trap was now fully armed and completely inescapable. I possessed the specific banking routing numbers used to launder her fraudulent income into private accounts. She believed she could threaten me into submission using a fabricated history of maternal authority. She did not understand she was actively challenging a penetration tester to a war of pure information. I printed 3 physical copies of the forensic dossier on heavy bond paper. The laser printer hummed quietly in the corner of my office. I carefully organized the printed document pages into 3 separate manila folders. I labeled each folder with a serialized identification number to carefully track the chain of custody. The trap was perfectly set and waiting for her to make a desperate move. The ambush occurred on Thursday evening at exactly 6:45 p.m. I walked into the secure vestibule of my luxury apartment complex. Evelyn was waiting near the polished marble concierge desk. She bypassed the localized access control system by closely following a delivery courier inside. This physical security vulnerability is known as tailgating. It is a highly effective and completely unauthorized method of facility penetration. Evelyn approached me with a manufactured expression of deep maternal concern. She wore a designer cashmere coat that retailed for exactly $3,450. She purchased it last November using my secondary platinum credit card. She reached out to touch my shoulder. I stepped backward exactly 2 feet to maintain a neutral physical perimeter. Her face briefly flashed with raw annoyance before the loving mother mask returned. She stepped forward and attempted to employ a tone of benevolent authority. She told me she was entirely willing to forgive my recent digital outbursts. She said families fight, but they always find a way to heal eventually. She suggested we go upstairs to my secure apartment and reset her passwords together. She called it a beautiful clean slate and a fresh start for us. She was breathing rapidly through her expensive cosmetic enhancements. The ambient temperature in the spacious lobby was a heavily regulated 60 degrees. Her elevated respiration was a direct physiological response to her extreme financial stress. She was completely terrified of her rapidly approaching and inevitable insolvency. She produced a small paper gift bag from a boutique downtown bakery. She said she brought my favorite blueberry scones as a sweet peace offering. I am violently allergic to blueberries and carry a localized epinephrine injector everywhere. She was technically my mother for 30 full years. She never bothered to retain this incredibly basic biological data point. They were not offering a genuine and heartfelt family truce. She was deploying a rudimentary social engineering attack in the physical world. She desperately wanted to extract my administrative credentials using cheap emotional bait. I looked at her slightly trembling hands. I looked at her perfectly calculated and rigid posture. I realized she needed a highly public venue to fully expose her massive fraud. A private refusal would only generate more desperate and chaotic physical intrusions. I needed to conclude this specific operational protocol in an environment she could not control. I told her I was currently unavailable for any localized network maintenance. I kept my voice entirely flat and completely devoid of any emotional resonance. I suggested we meet for Friday lunch at the Brown Palace Hotel downtown. It was her favorite venue for displaying her fabricated wealth to her peers. She exhaled sharply and eagerly agreed to the specific time and location. She actually believed her pathetic display of fake parental grace had worked perfectly. She thought her automated financial utility was finally coming back online. I watched her walk back out into the freezing Denver twilight. I went upstairs and checked the precise status of my 3 manila folders. I arrived at the historic Brown Palace Hotel at exactly 12:15 p.m. on Friday. The ornate dining room hummed with the quiet clatter of expensive silverware and generational wealth. Evelyn occupied a prominent velvet booth near the exact center of the atrium. She was drinking an expensive sparkling water infused with freshly cut, organic cucumber slices. She smiled widely when I approached the heavy mahogany table. She genuinely believed I was there to instantly reboot her completely dead digital empire. I did not sit down on the plush velvet seating. I placed the 3 serialized manila folders perfectly parallel to the edge of her silver butter knife. Evelyn asked me if those were the new system passwords. Her voice carried a heavy tone of forced maternal confidence. I opened folder 1 and slid a printed spreadsheet directly over her expensive bread plate. It detailed exactly 80 distinct instances of purchasing automated bot traffic. The total amounted to a massive $8,450 in completely unsecured digital fraud over 3 years. I pointed to the specific shell companies she actively used to artificially inflate her vanity metrics. Evelyn stopped smiling instantly. Her heavy cosmetic foundation could not hide the sudden and dramatic loss of blood to her face. She tried to reach across the table to physically grab my left wrist. Have you ever calculated the exact terminal velocity of a collapsing lie in a crowded room? The blast radius of absolute truth is always mathematically precise and highly destructive. I stepped back to maintain my physical perimeter and kept my voice entirely flat. I wanted the surrounding wealthy patrons to capture my acoustic data perfectly. I opened folder 2 and carefully extracted the massive wire fraud reports. I placed the decrypted luxury resort contracts directly on top of her leather menu. I read aloud the exact banking routing numbers she used to solicit free accommodations. I matched them to the exact dates she demanded the $12,500 Aspen resort fee from my secure accounts. She sat perfectly still while the illusion of her lifestyle evaporated into raw hexadecimal data. The wealthy socialites at the adjacent table stopped talking completely. They were actively eavesdropping on our deeply catastrophic and very public network failure. Evelyn began to weep loudly. It was a highly tactical deployment of moisture designed to solicit immediate public sympathy. I immediately countered her emotional escalation with a final and utterly undeniable fact. I produced the decrypted email archive directly from folder 3. I informed the entire room she never intended to pay the luxury resort a single legitimate dime. I explained the severe legal liability she created by committing wire fraud across state lines. I did not yell or break my calm operational protocol. I simply delivered the compiled forensic dossier with the cold mechanical efficiency of a database query. Evelyn stood up and aggressively knocked her crystal water glass onto the hardwood floor. She loudly demanded I leave the expensive restaurant immediately. I turned and calmly walked away from her. The systemic collapse of her artificial reality took exactly 9 days. The digital gossip network within the lifestyle influencer community operates with ruthless algorithmic efficiency. Evelyn received a formal cease and desist letter from the Aspen Luxury Resort on Tuesday. They cited a massive violation of their strict anti-fraud vendor policies. The hotel management permanently banned her from all associated global properties. Her remaining legitimate brand sponsors executed an immediate corporate quarantine. They utilized automated reputation management software to detect her suddenly dead social media links. 3 boutique fashion labels cancelled her affiliate contracts in a single afternoon. She possessed 0 active revenue streams without her heavily manipulated bot traffic. The most devastating localized failure occurred at the infrastructure level. The property management company attempted to process the $4,150, $75 monthly condominium lease on the first. My automated clearing house profile was already permanently deleted from their payment gateway. The transaction triggered a fatal non-sufficient funds error code instantly. The luxury building management immediately applied a $125, $0 penalty fee to her negative ledger. Evelyn tried to secure a high-interest personal loan to cover the massive housing deficit. She failed the automated algorithmic credit check in less than 4 seconds. Her debt-to-income ratio was completely toxic without my hidden digital subsidies. The leasing office issued a formal 3-day notice to quit via certified mail. The legal eviction process was officially initiated. She attempted to pawn her collection of designer handbags to generate emergency liquidity. She discovered the secondary luxury resale market is entirely merciless and mathematically precise. The boutique appraiser offered her a mere $3,400 for a collection that cost me $22,800. She accepted the massive depreciation loss out of pure desperate necessity. I monitored the cascading failure through publicly available municipal court records. I did not illegally breach her devices to watch her curated life burn. I simply observed the standard operating procedures of late-stage financial ruin. The county sheriff filed a public writ of restitution against her on Thursday afternoon. The heavy legal document was completely accessible to anyone with an internet connection. Her carefully curated illusion of prosperity was officially dead. She was drowning in a vast ocean of her own profound incompetence. I archived the public eviction notice in my encrypted external storage drive. The structural demolition was mathematically perfect. I closed the browser window and cleared my system cache. The corrupted user files were completely deleted forever. I woke up early on a perfectly still Saturday morning to the absolute silence of my secure apartment. My primary personal checking account reflected a newly injected surplus of precisely $4,150. $75. This was the exact historical capital I previously allocated to subsidize her toxic existence. I achieved a state of absolute mathematical asymmetry. I poured a single cup of dark roast coffee and opened my master network dashboard. My enterprise architecture loaded in 0.2 seconds without a single parasitic system drain. The ambient temperature in my living room was locked at a highly efficient 68 degrees. I did not have to audit a fraudulent hotel invoice or monitor an unauthorized login attempt. My baseline psychological processor usage dropped back to a mathematically perfect idle state. The crushing operational latency of her emotional manipulation was permanently deleted from my network. I finally possessed the pure bandwidth to scale my own internal systems. I was no longer a hijacked server actively processing a massive overflow of manufactured grief. I was simply a network architect enjoying his coffee in a highly secure environment. Have you ever experienced the total peace of a perfectly closed digital circuit? A zero-trust network only functions when you ruthlessly verify every single user attempting to gain access. You must permanently revoke administrative privileges from people who fundamentally despise you. I locked her out of my secure perimeter and watched her unsupported reality instantly collapse to zero. I closed the final active ticket in my mental queue. I permanently deleted her corrupted user profile from my internal local storage array. The comprehensive security migration was completely successful. My daily life is now running flawlessly on a clean installation. I am finally existing in pure and absolute peace.